Every time a new Mortal Kombat game gets announced, fans immediately start making their wish list. They say things like, okay, let's bring back Hotaru, let's bring back Onaga, Serena, Tremor. Those characters, they get it, we get it, I get it, you know? Mortal Kombat has one of the greatest rosters in gaming history, but here's the thing, not every single Mortal Kombat character deserves another chance, I'm gonna say it. In fact, I think there are a handful of Mortal Kombat characters that simply shouldn't be priorities anymore. Now, before everyone starts typing angry comments, I'm not saying these characters are terrible, and I'm definitely not saying they could never ever be fixed. However, every Mortal Kombat character has potential with the right redesign and story, but if NetherRealm only has room for about, 25 to 30 characters per roster, I think these characters should stay on the bench. So I'm going to talk about some Mortal Kombat characters that I don't think should come back anytime soon. I'm not saying never, but just not anytime soon. But before we get into today's video, guys, if you guys don't know me by now, I'm Mr. Frosty Flames, but you can call me Mike. We do anything gaming news, reviews, playthroughs, etc. And we do it in a chill way with no over editing BS. So if you enjoy that style of content, be sure to hit that sub button and join the Mr. Frosty Flames Legion. Anyways, let's get back to the video. So the first character I chose is actually probably the easiest choice I picked on this list, aside from maybe one other one, and that's Meat. Meat has always been more of a joke character than an actual character, and to be honest, okay, that's completely fine. Not every single character needs some deep lore that, blows people away, but when fans ask for returning characters, they're usually asking for someone who could really just contribute to the story. Meat really can't. He doesn't really have any memorable rivalries, he doesn't really have an important role in the lore, and he doesn't even have a personality. He's basically just like a walking anatomy model. He's funny, he's weird, he has a decent to cool moveset. He could take off his head and roll it in the floor, he shoots like blood at you, but I'd rather see almost any other forgotten 3D era character get another chance before Meat. I mean, he's okay as a character as like standalone, but I really don't want him back, other than like a cameo or something. I don't want them to bring back cameos for Mortal Kombat 13, but if they do, I'd love to see Meat as a cameo or at least like a secret hidden character or something like that, because I want to see him back, but just not back as a main roster character. And speaking of more joke characters, this was probably the easiest one I chose on this list, and that's actually Mokap. I actually think Mokap is very hilarious as a character itself. He's one of those characters that just makes you laugh because he exists. I mean, he looks funny, he is funny, but that's exactly why I don't think he should return. Mokap worked because he was just like an Easter egg, he was never meant to be taken seriously, but trying to force him into a modern cinematic story would feel incredibly out of place. He's the kind of character that's fun just to remember, but not necessarily fun to build an entire roster spot around, because that would be a huge waste. If him or Meat were to come back, maybe they could come back as skins, because remember when Injustice 2 did the premiere skins where they turned in-roster characters into something else? Like they had the Jon Stewart, Green Lantern, they had Mr. Freeze as Captain Cold, and they had some other ones, I think Black Lightning as Raiden. Man, it was cool. Imagine if they had a Meat premiere skin for maybe Havoc, and they had a Mokap premiere skin for maybe Johnny Cage, where they just reskin everything. You know how Johnny Cage shoots that green slime balls, whatever, those goo balls, right? Maybe they could have him throw those white balls that Mokap throws, or you know how Meat's moveset is kind of similar to Havoc, where you can kind of throw his head and contort his body around. Man, what if they just did that, but they just put him as a skin or something? At least, pay homage to these characters, these joke characters, but not taking up an actual spot for the roster. It was okay in Mortal Kombat Armageddon because they had everybody, but like in a modern Mortal Kombat game, say Mortal Kombat 13, they would be incredibly just wasted spots, man. We need more characters, perhaps a new character, or just returning Hotaru or something, not Meat or Mokap. The third character I chose is probably going to be controversial, and this is actually three characters. This is actually Triborg from MKX. Now, I don't think this character is ever coming back. I think he was only in that game because of the variation system, and before anyone gets mad, I actually like Triborg. I love the cyborg ninjas. They're fun to play, they're awesome, but the problem is, he really only exists because multiple cyborgs weren't on the roster, and they wanted him as like a DLC spot, 3-in-1, Cyrax, Sector, and Smoke. Like, I think that there's really no reason to have Triborg when you could just really bring back Sector, Cyrax, or Smoke, or even Cyber Sub-Zero individually, and have them all branched out and have their own paths and their own lore, their own unique movesets. I mean, those characters already have their own identities. Triborg was just a clever clever solution at the time of MKX, but I don't think he needs to become a permanent character, or at least, you know, coming back. I know some people want him back for some reason, but I just don't understand it. And the next character I chose is probably the most recent addition to the Mortal Kombat roster, and that's Collector. Collector had one of the coolest designs introduced in recent Mortal Kombat. You know, we haven't seen anything like it. He has 6 arms, a creepy voice, he has some unique weapons. Everything about him screamed, you know, I have potential. But that's where it kind of stopped. Despite being completely new in Mortal Kombat 11, he never really became important to the story. He wasn't a memorable villain, you know, people sort of forget about him. He wasn't even a hero. He didn't have huge rivalries. He didn't even have a major story moment in the game where he was debuted in. He was just sort of there. And that's the biggest problem. When people think back on Mortal Kombat 11, I believe that few people immediately think of Collector. I mean, he's like the afterthought of Mortal Kombat 11. He sort of never became essential to the plot or story at all whatsoever. He's sort of just like a crypt guy. And if he were to come back, I say they should expand Mortal Kombat 11's crypt, remove invasions mode, expand Mortal Kombat 11 script, and then maybe you could add Collector there as like a vendor, or like somebody that gives you a side quest, or someone that you could just buy stuff from. Or if they add like a conquest mode, he could be like a vendor, maybe like an outworld traveling vendor that could have like unique items from different combatants that you could use for your character. See, that would be cool. He's like a crypt guy. He is the Collector. I don't really see him as like a main roster spot. If he is in the main roster, he'd be like a jobber again. But why have Collector when you could have cooler people like Aaron Black? You know, Aaron Black's a jobber. You could have Aaron Black instead. You could have Ferrator. You could have Reptile. You could have anybody else. Even Devora, in my opinion, is better than Collector. And in my opinion, he really isn't the top priority to bring back. I really just didn't like him. And the next character I chose is actually Jarek. Now, poor Jarek. He's probably one of the most least memorable characters in the entire franchise. And to be honest, it's easy to understand why, because his biggest problem was that he was always just another version of Kano. He has the same criminal background, he has the same Black Dragon connection, same general role. He's just basically like Kano Light or Kano Jr. And that's not entirely his own fault. You know, the developers never really developed his own identity. The writers just never gave him enough to just stand out. Could NRS completely reinvent him someday? Absolutely, but until then, I'd rather see almost anyone else from the Black Dragon get that opportunity first. I'd rather have Kano, Cobra, Kira, Cabal, those people be in the Black Dragon than Jarek. You could have them there maybe just as a goon or something, but I'd rather them focus on maybe Cobra and Kira because they're just more interesting characters in my opinion than Jarek. So maybe Jarek could sit on the bench for a little while longer. I don't think really anyone is asking for him back, to be honest. People are asking for more Cobra and Kira than Jarek, and I agree. Now, some few characters that I almost included on this list, characters that I don't necessarily dislike, but I also think they shouldn't be high priorities. Characters like Moloch, Darius, Blaze, and Dairu, not because they're awful, but because they're simply so much better characters waiting for another chance. Like when fans have been asking for characters like Onaga, Hotaru, Kai, Taven, Dagon, and so many others, those characters naturally fall further up the list. You know, those characters should be brought back. But at the end of the day, believe it or not, I actually don't hate any Mortal Kombat character. I think every single one has potential. All it takes is one incredible redesign, one amazing story, or just one unforgettable game. Like, we've already seen it happen with characters like Astra and Li Mei, so maybe one day even some of those characters could surprise us. But as things stand today, I just don't think they should be priorities for future Mortal Kombat games. Now, I think this is probably going to be one of my more controversial videos, so let me know in the comments down below. Which Mortal Kombat character do you think should stay gone, should never come back, and which character do you think deserves another chance? Now, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to join the Mr. Frosty Flames Legion. Thank you guys for watching. Mr. Frosty Flames out. Ciao.